Good morning, everyone. This is Raffy Gutierrez, and welcome to another episode on Crossroads of Faith. I want to thank everybody who has subscribed to the channel Usapang Reliyon, and I really look forward to seeing your comments and your insights in the comment section below. So without further ado, let me introduce my topic today. And it is one of my favorite topics in spirituality, and that is none other than what does it mean to be a true Christian? This has been a very difficult question while I was still considering myself a Christian many years ago. And to be honest, when I reflect in my life right now and my spiritual journey, sometimes I wonder if it's really even necessary to identify with any spiritual group. I consider myself a Zen Buddhist at this time because that is the specific spiritual faith or path that I follow currently. And my spiritual path, or the path I've followed in terms of seeking the truth in matters of faith, have been very colorful in the many decades that I have been a spiritual seeker. So the question is, since I have been a Christian, I have been into different other faiths and belief systems, and in my periphery now, what does it mean to be a believer of Jesus? And funny because I cannot remember how long ago already, but this has been probably almost more than 20 years ago. I was sitting beside a Catholic priest in a family event. And since it was like dinner time, and he was obviously probably the most interesting person I could talk to at that particular situation or event, I asked the priest, the Catholic priest, Father, I asked, what do you think is the will of God? Right? So he looked at me perplexed. The priest suddenly just looked at me and asked and said, "What do you mean, Raffy? What do you mean? What is the will of God?" I told the priest I was probably in my late 20s to early 30s then, right? And I asked him, "I'm asking you because I want to know the purpose of life. I want to know from your vantage as a priest, what does it mean to follow the will of God? Right? What do you think as a priest?" And he looked at me puzzled, like he was, it almost seemed like it was a wrong question to ask somebody like a priest. Right? So the father said, "Well, that's a really strange question to ask. What is the will of God?" Well, the will of God, if you ask me, is simple as to love God, to love God above all else, and that is basically the most important will of God. So I asked him back immediately, what does it mean, Father, to love the Lord your God above all else? And he looked at me again and very puzzled. He said, "Well, to love God means above all else means to put God ahead of everything else. He has to be the most important thing in your life." Right? And I was still not clear what he meant. So I asked him, what do you mean to put God first in your life? What does it entail? What do you have to do to put God first? And at that point, I think I must have pressed the wrong button, right? Because the priest, this guy was probably in his late 50s to early 60s, right? And he said, "You asked too many questions, Raffy, and it's really simple, like the will of God is following God, and following God is putting him first, and it doesn't get simpler than that." And I think he tried to change the topic at that point. So I share that story because I find it odd that somebody who, who basically gave his life and dedicated his life to the purpose of in this particular case, the Catholic Church, right? Somehow, unconvincingly answered what the will of God is. I think on a very theological level, the priest was definitely correct. Father, I forgot his name, was correct. The will of God is to love God above all else, and to love God above all else means to put Him first. But here's the problem. How does that make you a better Catholic, a better Christian? When you put God first. Because it's easy. You find a lot of Christians, a lot of Catholics who say they want to put God first. I have this cousin who posts in our family chat every day to put God first. And then you look into their lives and you wonder if they really understand what that means. So, going back on topic, what does it mean to be a true Christian? What does it mean to be a follower of Jesus? So I will not oversimplify, but the answer is really simple. And the answer really is, or the answer to the question I would have given my younger self if I had the opportunity to talk with him, travel back in time. The will of God is to live like Jesus did, to be Christ-like in our words, in our thoughts, in our actions to other people, to be like Jesus. See, the problem on the matters of faith is when belief becomes a simple something in your head, something you memorize, something you know. Okay, when you ask somebody, why do you call yourself a Christian, or how do you know that you are a Christian? And they will obviously answer, because I believe in Jesus, I believe in God. I go to church, I read the Bible, right? Fine. Okay, nobody says those things are not important. That those are probably on the side of rules, and trying to make the world believe that you are in fact the Christian or Catholic that you are. You have to do those things, right? You have to go to church, you have to read the Bible, you have to follow the sacraments. But what do all these actions, what do all these gestures, what do all these things that you have to conform really point towards, right? Does going to the church, reading the Bible, automatically make you follow the will of God? Make it very clear the purpose of faith? Does it? Does going to church, reading the Bible, doing the obvious things, are you indeed following the will of God? Right? In your very household, in your home, in a home that claims to have all the household members Christians, is the love of Jesus very apparent in the family? Do you see is there anything that exemplifies or shows the love of God or love for God outside the spectrum of reading the Bible, going to church, congregating with fellow Christians? Here's the thing, right? It's very easy to claim that you are such and such believer, you are a Christian. Get the Bible, read a few Bible verses, say you've accepted Jesus as your Lord and Savior, or go to the Catholic Church and get baptized. Does that really make you a Christian, a Catholic? I think from the most fundamental level, or maybe the most on a theological level, that is possible. You can make claim based on what you show others in terms of very distinct practices of like I can say I'm a Zen Buddhist because I do Zazen, I do the meditation every day. But does that really make me a Zen Buddhist? Does that really make me a Buddhist? Does that make me do Zen? Does that make me exemplify what a Zen practitioner is? Those are the questions I have to ask myself. What does it mean to be a Zen Buddhist? Doing the koan study, doing the breathing, doing the one-on-one with my Zen teacher. Are those things that I do in the matters of Zen showing that I am in fact a Zen Buddhist? So for me, being a Buddhist means doing what the Buddha would do in certain situations, which is acting with kindness, compassion, love, and practicing gratitude. Jesus left a very, very clear way how we should live. Whether you are Buddhist, whether you are Christian, whatever belief you have. And I think this is where a lot of believers really miss the point. Because the easiest thing to do to become a Christian is to do the obvious. And so, like what the Catholic priest that I was talking to said, hey, we just to follow the will of God is to love God, and to love God is to put God first. But what happens after is not clear for many, many, many believers. The priest should have told me, live like Jesus. That is the will of God. See how Jesus treated those who were less fortunate, how he loved those who were unlovable. That's how you show that you are a true Christian. Love your enemies, it's in Galatians 5. Right? But how many Christians even love their fellow Christians, let alone their enemies? I was in a heated chat debate with the born-again fundamentalist Christian a few months ago, and there was so much hate that this guy showed just because I did not see things the way he did in matters of faith. And strangely, he even hated other Christians who did not follow or did not believe the same exact teachings that his particular Pentecostal church taught and their pastors said that you should follow, right? Imagine this Christian, he hates other Christians who are not part of his Christian church. So what kind of Christian is a Christian like that? Right? And you look at the Philippines, we claim to be the only Christian nation in Asia, but do you see any real Christianity in the Philippines outside the churches, the religious relics and artifacts that you see when you're traveling because of the Spanish influence of Catholicism for 500 years? Is there real Christianity in the Philippines? Then why is our country like this? Because we've missed the point. We stopped at putting God first, but we really don't know what that means. Or we know, but it's very difficult. Because putting God first means living like Jesus, being Christ-like. There is no other real way to follow, to believe in God if you want to really be honest about it. Because that is the hardest. To live like Jesus did is the hardest. So I leave you with this message today, and I hope that somehow this has clarified those who have always been struggling what the will of God is, what the purpose of life is. I did not mean to oversimplify or to generalize in a way that takes the real essence of what it means to follow, to believe, to follow the will of God, and to put God first. But if you look at what I'm trying to say from the most fundamental level, then it is obvious that if you cannot live like Jesus did, how can you claim that you love God? How can you claim that you are putting God first in your life. So again, this is Raffy Gutierrez. Thank you for listening and this far, and I look forward to seeing you again on my future videos. Please like and subscribe, that helps us a lot. And I look forward to seeing your comments below. Have a great week ahead.